Classical music is better than pop music, right? In a previous video, I made the claim that classical music was not objectively better than pop music. And I knew this was a controversial take, so I was kind of ready for the comments. And reading through each of the threads debating this topic was an absolute treat. Many great points were made, and I think I finally formulated my opinion on the matter. Okay, so yes, classical music is structurally more complex than pop. A Mahler symphony has more moving parts and more harmonic sophistication than a Taylor Swift song. And that isn't subjective at all. It's quite easily measurable. You can count the voices and analyze the modulations. But complexity is not the same thing as value. A traditional Chinese brush painting requires decades of technical mastery that Jackson Pollock explicitly rejected. A Persian rug is far more complex than a Rothko painting. But does that make the rug better than the Rothko? Complexity is a dimension of art, but it's not the dimension. Going back to classical versus pop music aims for emotional immediacy and universal legibility. Classical music aims for architecture and intellectual satisfaction. These are fundamentally different ambitions, and to judge one by the standards of the other would be getting nowhere. Now, a few of the comments were saying, yes, classical music is objectively better than pop music. But I wonder if we're fully taking into account the operative word of objectively here. Because for it to be objective, that would assume there is some inherent mechanism or a formula that weighs complexity against emotional impact, or technical mastery against cultural resonance, and then outputs a universal ranking. This does not exist. You can compare the two and say that you feel that one is better than the other, but it all depends on how you yourself measure it. If you value complexity, of course you're going to enjoy classical much more than pop. Because how are two people who are measuring two different genres of music using completely different parameters ever going to find common ground until they both acknowledge this? And this is the crux of my use for this comparison in the last video. That taste of one over the other is completely arbitrary, and actually both sides are correct to feel that their preferred genre is superior. But this is not objective. I think this particular comparison was really difficult for a lot of people to hear, especially those in the arts, because it threatens the story they've been told about why their work matters. And I'm not saying it doesn't matter. Of course it matters. But the point I'm trying to get at through these videos is that taste is a learned system. This actually ties into a theory that Bourdieu called the denial of the social, which truly deserves its own video, so if you want that, please like and follow. But in simple terms, it's the process by which people in high society believe their preferences reflect universal truths and not social position. At the end of the day, the pianist who can play Chopin has earned their mastery, but so has the pop producer who can engineer a chorus that won't leave your brain for weeks, even months. The real question isn't which is better, but rather, why do we need one to be better? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.